Okay, so you guys probably saw I had a Kickstarter for Rails.app, which is now named Tokaido, and I kind of wanted to go through why I've decided to do this, because there was a lot of questions about it. Shitstorm. So I wanted to sort of go through the goals of the project. I'm actually really psyched about the fact that I'm working with Michael on this, because I'm happy to not have the part of it which is create a self-contained isolated Ruby be something that I end up building and no one could use. So working with the RVM project has been awesome for this. So first of all, the main goal of Tokaido is to have a precompiled Ruby that can be updated. So you install Tokaido, you get a version of Ruby which is precompiled, and every patch level gets downloaded probably automatically by default, but you could same way you would update any other software, not upgraded from 1.9.2 to 1.9.3, but like 1.9.3 patch level, blah, 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 should just always be updated. I don't know if anybody has tried this, but if you just try to compile Ruby on your own, the binaries are littered with precompiled paths. You can't actually take a version of Ruby that you compiled on OS X on one machine and bring it to another machine without passing extra flags, which were in the previous slide. Also shipping with precompiled binary gems. So obviously for things that are mandatory, that is necessary, like the MySQL gem, but even things like Nokogiri, common gems that people want to use, have them be precompiled. And again, the goal here is to have them be precompiled just like Ruby without any dependencies on systems. So Nokogiri should come as a .gem file, which has a binary version for Ruby and does not actually depend on having a specific version of libxml installed in your system. Again, this is just a reality of trying to do this. Terminal-based workflow. I have this in bold because I think there was a little bit of confusion. My goal is not to replace the terminal with a GUI. My goal is to make it so that the terminal has less error scenarios. Some extras, and I wrote about this in my blog in a lot more detail, but code and app help, so ways to find out if you have outdated gems, how is your app doing in terms of like flog and flay and that sort of thing, code coverage, DNS hijacking, so that if you have an app that's managed by Tokaido, you can just go to like app.dev, just like POW does. I've been talking to the Ruby Toolbox guys about doing some kind of Ruby Toolbox integration to make it easier to get gems right from there, and then also Rails protocol handler. So like rubygems.org, you could click on a thing and have it add the gem. Okay, major goals of the project: precompile everything, and I mean precompile everything without any system external dependencies. This is not something that you would notice if you just go like install RVM or do /configure make, but the default way of installing Ruby has all kinds of system dependencies, and the goal is to eliminate all of those. And then same thing for existing gems, SQLite, MySQL, the Redis gem, etc. So get everyone else to do it. So part of the project is just going around and talking to people. Failure scenarios, even if any given step in a list of steps that you have to do has a 95% success rate, if you add up enough steps, the failure rate goes down. Anybody who participated in Rails Girls knows that many people had a lot of trouble installing Ruby, and this is just a reality. Like, you could pretend it's not a reality, but it's actually reality. The basic idea is to free Ruby developers from the tyranny of compilation failures. And one annoying thing about doing a list of steps and scripting it is that if something fails in the middle, sometimes your system gets into a state that you don't actually know how it got there, but you can't actually proceed. You can't start from scratch anymore because something somewhere in your system is broken. And basically not following a list of steps is necessary to avoid the problem. Being able to use the core of it, not obviously the OS X part of it, but the core installable Ruby, usable on other platforms using the SM framework. And then finally, I want to use the environment myself. I want it to be something I would want to use. This is sort of my motto for the project. Automating failure-prone workflows doesn't eliminate the failure, but makes them harder to recover from. So the idea is not just to make a script that does the 5 steps that someone keeps posting on Hacker News, but the idea is to make those 5 steps not necessary in the first place by doing them ahead of time on some machine and then giving the distribution to everyone. There were a few really interesting comments in Hacker News that I thought were worth highlighting, just because they kind of put the lie to the idea that it's super easy. The barriers to entry for Ruby on Rails on the Mac are pretty high. I was keenly interested in an open source, open government project. I tried to get it running on my Mac on my personal time. I had direct expert help from devs who use Rails and Ruby, etc. I understand the tool stack was churning, something about mismatched versions, runtimes, whatever. I gave up after 3 weeks. And then I've been a Rails dev since about 2007 as well, and I've had some serious problems dealing with Rails, gem dependencies, the version of Ruby gems itself, and so on. RVM has helped a lot with that, but my last computer got so messed up when I upgraded to Snow Leopard, it took me hours of configuration to get it working properly, and I had to abandon RVM entirely and start using RVenv, and then I couldn't work on half my older projects. In fact, it was so messed up it motivated me to go out and buy a new MacBook. So I think it is definitely the case that at any given time there is some set of 5 steps that you could do and it will probably work, but things change so often. relying on people to be able to basically use their Unix to get everything up and running. It's just not practical. It does not practically work.